Transformamos la agricultura con ciencia y colaboración. FONTAGRO es un fondo único en el mundo, creado por 15 países, para cofinanciar ideas e innovaciones que impulsan la agricultura de América Latina y el Caribe, con impacto global. Trabajamos junto a organizaciones nacionales, regionales e internacionales, públicas y privadas, especialmente con los productores agropecuarios, generando soluciones reales con impacto en terreno. 215 laboratorios de innovación. 160 millones de dólares invertidos, más de 1.400.000 beneficiarios directos, 8.000 investigadores en red, más de 5.000 organizaciones, y 35 países conectados. Hemos desarrollado y validado cientos de tecnologías de alto impacto. Nuestros laboratorios de innovación están en toda América Latina, el Caribe y España, y se replican en muchos otros sectores de la región. En FONTAGRO promovemos la cooperación en I+D+I para una agricultura más competitiva y sostenible, con menor huella ambiental. Somos FONTAGRO. Redes de innovación en acción, para un futuro mejor.
To the different opportunities in Latin America and the Caribbean, as well as some awards that acknowledge the dedication of the youth to the science and innovation and the future of the agri-food systems towards the future. Second, we will have Priscila Zúñiga Villalobos, which is a technical specialist on rural women and rural youth, who is going to present the focus for the capacities, entrepreneurship, and participation of youth in the rural sectors. The presentation is going to highlight experiences that connect youth with innovation, digital transformation, agro-industrial transformation, dialogue on public policies, and different opportunities of cooperation, international cooperation. And finally, we'll have Gabriela Quiroga Gilardoni, representative of the IICA in Dominican Republic. She's going to analyze why competitiveness of the future of the agri-food systems depend not only on innovation and technology, but also the capacity of the institutions to attract, guide, and retain technical talent of the youth. From experiences throughout the Dominican Republic, she's going to share experiences on how the professional experiences and the internships can promote leadership and, of course, promote innovation. With further ado, I'm going to give the floor to Gabriela Picard. She is going to talk about global youth programs and partnerships impacting, transforming systems' lives and impacting different systems. Go ahead.
Thank you, Martín. Hi, everyone. I'm going to share my screen here with you. My name is Rebecca Picard. I am the Senior Director of Global Youth Programs and Partnerships here at the World Food Prize Foundation. And my job is to help young people learn about global food security, explore different educational and career pathways in food and agriculture, develop a strong voice and a seat at the table, and also establish an international perspective. So these are all things that prepare young people for impactful careers in agri-food systems. And I do all of this for the World Food Prize Foundation. Our mission is to elevate innovation and inspire action to sustainably increase the quality, quantity, and availability of food for all. And we do a lot of things at the foundation, but all of our activities fall under three main pillars. First, we are an awarding organization, so we recognize exceptional achievements in food security and food and agriculture. We are a convening organization. We bring together global leaders to address issues and innovations in the food system. And finally, we are empowering young people. We educate, inspire, empower them to gain leadership development through different programs and experiences. And we do all of this in the legacy of our founder, Dr. Norman Borlaug. He was a very strong advocate for youth education and empowerment in the agri-food system. And he used to say, if we want them to solve the world's problems at age 60, they have to start solving the world's problems at age 16. So in his legacy, as he developed our programs, we have a pipeline of leadership and youth development programs designed to inspire and educate and empower young people to take meaningful action in transforming the food system and improving global food security. We've been engaging youth since 1994. We've reached over 100,000 young people and educators with our curriculum since then. We work with quite young students, high school and undergraduate students mostly, because we aim to inspire youth before university so that we can build a greater pool of talent as they choose their area of study, and that helps increase workforce readiness earlier. So the first program in our pipeline is our Youth Institutes. These are an opportunity for high school or secondary school students to develop a research paper on food security challenges in a country, develop a solution to those challenges, and then come together at an event or a program at a university to share their solutions with each other and also with experts who can help them broaden their perspectives and continue to consider challenges dynamically. The foundation partners with universities across 22 different US states and 8 additional countries for this program, helping to expand students' understanding of food and agriculture and to showcase the university's research and offerings for students. This year, we're celebrating a big milestone. We've had over 2,100 students participate, which is the most ever in one year. And we are continuing to grow and expand our programs across different countries. After a Youth Institute, students are eligible for other programs that we offer. So the next one I will share is the Global Youth Institute. A select number of students from each Youth Institute each year are invited to attend the Global Youth Institute in Des Moines, Iowa, in the United States, where we're headquartered. And this is a week-long academic conference every October where students can develop their networks and learn from international experts and researchers and policymakers and learn about issues and innovations and career pathways and also their potential role in agri-food systems. This year, we have almost 200 students from over a dozen countries coming together in Iowa to learn how they can play a role in shaping a more sustainable and food secure world. We also have a Borlaug Ruan International Internship. This internship aims to prepare students for high impact careers in science, agriculture, global development. Interns work on research projects with world-renowned scientists and policymakers at leading research and development organizations around the world. And they learn about different pressing challenges in agriculture and nutrition, health, economics, the environment, all of those kinds of topics. This is a fully funded program. They don't pay for anything. We cover all of the expenses for the students and we pay our partners. And it's meant to provide exposure to very young students, 17 to 20 years old, so they can begin developing their education and career pathways with some direction. We've actually had students change their majors or their study focus as a result of this internship. They've gotten additional internships with our partners afterwards, and some even work for our partners in the future. Here on this slide, I've highlighted a couple of our Latin American partners, the International Potato Center and Earth University, as well as a couple of our Latin American participants. Mariana participated in our Honduras Youth Institute, and then on the internship, she explored biotechnological innovations in root crop development at the International Potato Center in Lima last year. And then this year, Andrea Payan from Mexico is at Earth University in Costa Rica, and she's looking at different ways to reduce food waste and encourage sustainable consumption among communities in rural Costa Rica. So she's using food science techniques to develop recipes using common Costa Rican ingredients. And then this slide is just showing many of the locations and partners that we work with around the world each year. We track the impact of our programs over the years. So this slide shows that students have gained a better understanding of global issues related to food security. They've learned to think critically. Our programs have positively impacted their personal growth and development. And there are a number of skills that they've developed from participating, which are all important for any future career like communication, problem solving, writing, and things like that. Additionally, our statistics show that our programs have impacted students' educational and career pathways, and the programs have inspired them to make a meaningful difference in the world. And I won't read these testimonials, but I highlighted a few words that show that our programs are really well regarded by students who participate. They consistently describe them as inclusive, they are inspired, empowered, their voice matters. And most importantly, for our experiential learning programs, students describe them as transformative. Next, I want to talk a little bit about the context of our partnerships and programming in Latin America. We currently have a youth institute in Honduras, and we have engagement through one high school in Mexico. It's not an official program, but it is a partnership, and they bring students every year to the US for our Global Youth Institute. We also have Borlaug Ruan international internship sites in Peru, Costa Rica, Mexico, and Brazil. And I'm working to expand our programming in Latin America and the Caribbean. Based on current partnerships and interests, opportunities could include things like establishing a youth institute where we already have partners like Mexico and Peru, or also where we're starting to build those relationships. So places like Dominican Republic, Jamaica, Guyana, Colombia. We're always seeking new partnerships to provide those empowering and educational opportunities to students around the world that help them develop skills for the workforce, inspire them to want to work in and make a change in food systems, and give them practical, hands-on opportunities to learn and grow in the international context. I know exchange programs are particularly of interest in my experience with my Latin American network, and I find that to be a powerful way to inspire and educate young people. One of the benefits of our current program model is for students in those countries where we have a program to be able to go to another country and get practical experience. So it's not exactly exchange and it's not with the United States, but it's in another country in context, which is still very valuable. But I'm excited about the potential for different types of programs, including potentially exchange programs in partnership with other institutions. I think that would be a wonderful thing to explore with this network. And then quickly, I'd like to share some of our award opportunities that youth are eligible for, and that we're also seeking more nominations for from Latin America and the Caribbean. In addition to the World Food Prize, which is our namesake and most well-known award, we have other recognitions, including the Borlaug Field Award and our Top Agri-Food Pioneers. So first, the Borlaug Field Award, it's a $10,000 award. It's endowed by the Rockefeller Foundation, and it's presented every October in Des Moines, Iowa, to an individual by the World Food Prize Foundation. And this award recognizes exceptional science-based achievements in international agriculture and food production by someone under 40 years old who has clearly demonstrated intellectual courage, stamina, and determination in the fight to eliminate global hunger and poverty, just like our founder, Dr. Norman Borlaug. And this award will honor an individual who's working closely and directly in the field or at the production or processing level with farmers, animal herders, fishers, or other people in rural communities in any discipline or any enterprise across the entire food production, processing, and distribution chain. I've got a timeline here as an example of what it looked like this year. So you can expect nominations for next year to open in November of this year, and we'll have a little bit more promotion for that in March. We've never had a winner from Latin America or the Caribbean, so I would love to see this change. So consider who you might know in your network that deserves this recognition and be ready in November to nominate them. We also have the Top Agri-Food Pioneers, or we also call it TAP. TAP features pioneers of any age, background, or career focus working in fields related to food and agriculture. It's a really good opportunity for anyone, but specifically young people, to gain recognition and expand their network and find some mentorship and collaboration with other people who are excelling in the field. And we invite all of our winners to the Borlaug Dialogue in October in Des Moines, Iowa every year to celebrate them. The nomination process opens in early February. So if you have someone in mind that you think should be recognized, be ready for that application to open in February. Submissions will be due in late March based on this year's timeline. It was March 25th this year, so you can expect a similar timeline next year. That's all I have. So I just want to share my information. Feel free to reach out if you want more information about our programs or to explore a partnership. My email is on this slide. Our website is also on this slide and our social media handles. And then this QR code is to sign up for our newsletter so you can stay up to date with our work, our events, our network, and most importantly, maybe the award nomination timelines and things like that. So you can use this QR code to sign up for our newsletter. Thank you so much. And I'm really looking forward to hearing from the other women on our panel.
Muchísimas gracias, Rebeca. Tendremos un espacio para preguntas.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. We're going to have a Q&A session at the end of the seminar. So now I'm going to give the word to Priscila Zúñiga, who is going to talk about different specialists on rural women, rural youth, in the Technical Cooperation Directorate. Thank you, Priscila.
Muy buenos días a todos y todas.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you very much for, first of all, FONTAGRO, for this space, to my colleagues with which I'm sharing this webinar, Rebecca and Gabriel as well. And of course, I would like to give an initial message in this month that is so important, August 12th, we celebrate the Youth Day, in our case from IICA. We always try to celebrate the youth through the Americas Network. So I don't want to lose this opportunity to share with you a message that I would like to transmit today, and it's that the future of the agri-food systems does not just depend on technology and innovation, but also depend mostly on those who have the opportunities of creating them, adopt them, and transform them. And that's why today I would like to share why youth should not just be seen as beneficiary of the policies, but also as protagonists of these policies, specifically science, in entrepreneurship, and also in the transformation of the agri-food systems. So with that, I'm going to share my presentation with you.
Vamos a ver. Por acá, también un segundo nada más. Perfecto. Entonces, para dar inicio,
So to begin, how do we make that the youth is going to be the protagonist of the transformation in different agri-food systems? So here I would like kind of have an overview or review of what we call from the Institute when we talk about food and agriculture, from the production, transformation, trade, consumption, different non-agricultural activities that we include, for example, in the primary production, that you offer economical value or social value. And aside from that, that we do look from them to be sustainable, to have opportunities, and that they can create well-being within the society. So when we speak about that, specifically, we want to mention that we have a regional context that is very demanding in regards to the transformations that we want to reach. And is that specifically in the Americas, we have a demographic transformation that is very interesting in comparison, that we have older people and less younger people, and even participating in agriculture. One information in regards in general to the world is that we have 163 million people, from which of them 159 million have between 15 and 29 years. We also have different transformations that demand more digitalization in regards to innovation, technology, and in the service to transformation technology. We also have geographical changes and geopolitical changes that demands more transformation, new views with new solutions. And here we have a crucial aspect in agri-food that, aside from participating in them, they're a crucial pillar in regards to agri-food security. Food security that demands more sustainable production and more resilient to be able to guarantee the future of our people. So how can we mention that the youth is part of that solution? Where can we go alongside with them? And here, I would like to make a stop and a reflection and see what do we understand from the Institute of a demand or a resignification from that mission that we mentioned before. And it's to be able to understand that the youth, first of all, are not a homogeneous group, rather a group that they have different contexts, different needs, different demands. And aside from that, it implies that they are agents which participate and that also have some incidents in the processes because they are social, historical, that they're going to respond to the different challenges that we find. And one of the most important elements that we state here is that it's necessary for the work and specifically for the intergenerational dialogue. That means generally we associate youth with the generational relief or change, and not. The idea that we have been working on at an institutional level is that the youth are the present and it's necessary specifically to work jointly with them. The youth within the sector have different roles and they give different contributions according to their ways of life and according to their surroundings in both activities that are agricultural and non-agricultural, and aside from the social organizations in which they are part of. So here, specifically before starting to analyze which are those triggers that are given to the youth, I would like to give a message related to the need that we have of understanding which are the gaps, the contexts that these youth have, specifically to be able to close them, transform them, and convert them in opportunities. And this we mention because different diagnoses on the region point us to those different constraints. For example, the soil, the access to social security, financing, education, different conditions, work conditions, for example, that are very informal. And without a doubt, all these constraints limit their ways of life and restrain them. From the previous data that I gave you, 39.9 million people between 15 and 29 years live in rural areas. 9.6 million of those work in the agricultural sector and 8.2 work in different activities that are non-agricultural activities. So we have data that demand to give a view to that youth, specifically to the rural youth. Other important topic is that the youth between 13 and 25 years are not connected. And if we go to numbers, for example, in relationship to the rural areas, we have that 43%, 0.4% just have an access to connectivity. So it's very low. So what is produced by this? It produces an erosion to our social weave. That's why when we work with these populations or these people, it's important for us to stop and make this type of analysis so we can see which are those triggers that would allow that the youth can be protagonists within the agri-food systems. Here, one of the main or most important is that agriculture can be a real opportunity, that it can offer a field for the development, both personal and professional, and that it's also a positive impact within the communities. Another important topic. It's the need that there's a social appropriation. And what does that mean? That they have to have a important role, a protagonic role in the decision making, to work alongside not just as beneficiaries, but they should also participate in an active manner, that you can generate different spaces so they can have this make or be decision makers in a local and regional level, and they can build specifically in a joint manner this type of situations throughout the territories. Other one are the triggers, or the trigger that is important is to work with their competences and skills, both for men and women. And that means to move forward in technical training, technological training, capacities to be able to innovate and face different or current challenges. And also, if we can have a more sustainable agricultural and more competitive agriculture. It's also important to generate formal conditions of work or job, to have access. As I mentioned before, this is one of the biggest gaps that we have. It's important to have access to labor, to dignified jobs and stable jobs, and different fair and just jobs, and they can have a fair value within the agri-food environment. And also to be able to train social inclusion elements. And what we do with that is that they can have some access to be more equal, to have more resources and more opportunities to them, to have a better opportunity within the development of the territories. And another of the important elements is the construction of their heritage, of the territory, through policies and strategies that are multi-level. These are one of the elements, or some of the elements, that are going to help us to have better opportunities for the youth within the agricultural sector. So what do we state here? We mean that science, innovation, and leadership are going to be a bridge specifically to be able to walk towards a digital transformation where nobody is left behind. And we can move forward specifically in different elements and opportunities. For example, in IICA, we have worked in opportunities, in ACTEX, in articulation with technological niches, in promoting youth and scientific leaders, and also leadership in technologies, in creating exchange and networking opportunities and strategies to be able to help our member states in different connections that they can allow the people or the youth to remain within the sector. And I would like to make a mention here. We have several colleagues that work with Arctex, Federico Berhardt, Carlos Ruiz, and Alex Montero also, that have worked and have positioned the importance of this space on optimizing activities and processes, because also APEX help us to improve the income, a continuous production and quality, the efficient use of the resources, in a reduction of the carbon footprint, create quality food, access to markets. However, today, they're still presenting some type of gaps in terms of participation. So it's important that we continue moving forward so we can generate this type of strategies and conditions so that youth can also add and work in this type of environment. Some actions that we have carried out in former processes with the youth is that we try to promote or contribute to their voice, give them support. And with that, what we want is to promote different spaces where the youth can participate, where they can give them different tools or jointly tools so they can give response to their needs and also listen to the proposals. We have also worked in trainings in different leadership, entrepreneurship, to facilitate these exchange spaces. That's very important because it allows them to know not just what is happening, for example, in your country, but also understand what solutions, what other strategies are being done by other youth in other countries or even throughout the region. That's also important to give this support to the implementation of projects that can transform the whole territories. Some of those initiatives, I invite you to visit some of the ones that we have led, which we have in the institutional repository. Some of them are some encounters or meetings, the hemispheric youth encounter, where we look specifically to promote those leaderships, which have been the youth, of course, that have a lot of trajectory and knowledge within the sector. So we've participated and we have worked with them in strengthening their leadership, in the participation, in promoting their agendas, also in strengthening their capacities, knowledge capacities in the entrepreneurship, technology, the usage of that technology. And here in this publication of initiatives for the youth, the hemisphere encounter of the rural voices, they do a whole tour of the methodologies used, strengthening the leadership and participation, and different meetings of different experiences of the youth. Another of the initiatives that we have, it's Agro Youth. That was an initiative implemented in Honduras and in Colombia and in Mexico, where we did a review on food in trade. And that was an initiative specifically in topics on how to be able to export agri-food product and have those capacities to access the markets, promote competitiveness, quality, and integration. And this is basically the title where you can specifically go a little bit more in depth in these topics. Another of the initiatives that I would like to share with you, so you can find in our repository, is this publication on closing the gaps and the differentiation to build the bridge between the youth, the rural youth, and the digitalization, where we take a look on some of the narratives that have positioned through the youth, and that here it's very important not to question them and try to generate different strategies so those narratives can truly be positioned, specifically, for example, in connectivity. We promote the access and the use of technology, but we have to consider, of course, that not all the youth have this access to connectivity. The importance of promoting different digital ideas, the fact that you're a youth, not necessarily you have access to that or you don't have the knowledge. The necessity or facilitating innovation, for example, for them to be able to transform the agricultural sector, and those differentiated strategies to be able to understand, as we mentioned before, the different contexts that the youth have, and they can add, not just, for example, as technological leaders youth, but also scientific youth, entrepreneurship youth, where they can generate those conditions that they can, of course, contribute. So here I would like to make a mention of something important and something very strategic, and it's that within IICA, currently we have tested from our agricultural ministry within the Americas the work in 4 important topics that is being worked through cooperation programs, where it's an incredible opportunity to be able to work with youth. And these topics that are science, technology, and innovation for productive development, international trade, regional integration, and agribusiness, that has been characterized for many years from the construction of the institute, or what it's sanity, agricultural sanitation, or health, biosecurity, and quality of the food. And the last one, that is the strategic natural resources for the productivity and resilience of the agri-food systems. So this is our different spaces where each one of the programs are going to promote an opportunity space to promote innovation, competitiveness, and sustainability of our agri-food systems. So to close, to build the present and the future of the agri-food systems, we require to invest on the people that are going to transform it. So as I mentioned before, this is an opportunity to remind throughout the month on the August 12th, where we celebrate the youth. It's an opportunity for us so we can generate conditions and strategies that allow us that our youth can see on agriculture an opportunity to continue to promote within the security of the food, and they can, of course, be inspired by the opportunity that they can find within the sector. So thank you very much. And here I'm going to leave my information in case you have any additional questions. Thank you very much, and I'll give the floor to Martin.
Muchísimas gracias, Priscila.
Thank you very much, Priscila.
Finalmente,
And finally, I'm going to give the floor to Gabriela
quien va a
Quiroga,
hablar sobre
which is going to be
experiencias en
speaking
República
about
Dominicana
experiences in
para
Dominican Republic to
fortalecer
strengthen
liderazgo
the
de jóvenes.
leadership of the
Adelante,
youth.
Gabriela, por favor.
Go ahead, Priscila.
Muchísimas gracias, Martín, y
Thank you
a
very
través
much,
tuyo al
Martin,
equipo
and
de
through
FONTAGRO,
you to
a
the
la
FONTAGRO
World
team,
Food Prize Foundation y al IICA
for the
también por tener esta
World Prize
oportunidad.
Foundation,
Estoy muy honrada de estar en este panel y también
World Food Prize
entusiasmada
Foundation, and this
de poder
opportunity. I'm also excited
contarles
to
nuestra
tell you a little
experiencia
bit
aquí
about our
en República
experience here in
Dominicana.
Dominican Republic.
Primeramente les voy a
So
querer
first of all,
compartir,
I
mientras
would like
voy
to share
introduciendo,
my
voy a compartir la pantalla.
presentation.
Les voy
I'm going to
a
share my screen. I'm going to
compartir
tell you
sobre
how
la
to talk about
evolución
on the evolution
reciente del agro dominicano
the
con la
Dominican,
idea de dar un poco de contexto
to give you a little
y
bit of context.
quisiera los que hemos estado trabajando tiene que
We
ver
have been
con la
working
sanidad.
with the health. I'm sorry, but the
Te
connection,
interrumpo, no sé
I don't
si
think
los
the
demás
connection
panelistas
is
están con problemas
very
de
good.
audio y que la escuchan mal
We
a
have,
Gabriela o se
yes, we have
escuchan.
audio issues, so
Sí, parece que tiene un problema
I believe
de
she has a
de
electricidad.
conexión.
connectivity
Estoy
issues,
descargando la
so
presentación para ver si en este caso particular
so
la
they're trying to
comparto yo
download their presentation.
y sería que apagara mejor su cámara y
So if you
miramos
want to,
hacemos
you
lo
can
demás
turn off
con
your
audio.
camera and we can retake with just audio.
Me cuentan si ya me escuchan nuevamente.
Let me know if
Te
you
escuchamos un poco
hear me.
entrecortado, por eso Michael sugería que quizás
So
él
Michael was
puede
suggesting
proyectar
that he can
la presentación
show your
y que
presentation and
luego
you can
apagar
turn off
la
your
cámara, como acaba de
camera
decir.
in case you have like
Excelente.
connectivity
Si me
issues.
escuchan bien, entonces
So if you can
procedo, me
hear me,
confirman.
Ahora sí,
please let me
y
know.
esperamos que Michael
Let's
comparta.
wait for Michael to share the presentation.
Ahí está.
There we go.
Entonces ya estamos viendo la presentación.
Okay, so
bien.
now we have the presentation.
Les voy a compartir sobre la evolución
So we're going to
reciente
tell you
del
about the
agro
recent
dominicano
development
y un
of
par de
the
ejemplos.
agriculture
Vamos
in Dominican
a
Republic, and I'm going to
explorar
give you some
juntos
examples. We're going
sobre el
to
estrés hídrico y la
explore
sanidad
all
animal,
the
que son
water
dos temas en los
stress
que
and
hemos estado
animal
trabajando
health,
aquí.
and it's
Con
some
la
issues
idea
that we have been
de
working
poner
with the idea of
visible el
make it visible
ecosistema
a
de
whole
innovación
ecosystem of innovation
agroalimentaria y por ende
of
trabajar juntos
agri-food
sobre esta
and
pregunta
thereby
por
work
qué
on this question
estos
on why
desafíos del agro
these
ya no
challenges of the
parecen ser tan
agriculture
lineales, sino que son
are not so
sistémicos. Y
lineal
lo que
but are
hemos
systemic.
propuesto
And
es una
what we
antesala
understand
muy
is that it's
interesante
a
para incorporar
presentation
jóvenes,
to
ciencia,
incorporate youth,
innovación,
science,
instituciones
innovation,
fuertes y
strong
ágiles.
institutions.
Entonces, en esta primera
And
diapositiva,
in
¿qué es
this
lo que
first
me
slide,
interesa que miremos?
I would
Hoy
like
la
you to see
agricultura
that
dominicana
Dominican agriculture
está creciendo.
is growing.
Esa es una muy buena
That's
noticia.
a very good
Muchas veces también hablamos del agro
news.
únicamente
Sometimes we
cuando
talk
aparecen
just about
problemas.
agriculture when
Pero hoy
problems
me
arise.
parecía
But
interesante
today, I
juntos aquí
thought it was
empezar
interesting to
desde otro
start
lugar, el
from
lugar
other
de las
place, the
oportunidades,
place of the
el lugar
opportunities,
donde vemos
the
que
place
lo que
where
nos
we
señalan las cifras
see that what the
es que
numbers
las
tell us
exportaciones
is that the
agropecuarias
exports,
crecen en la República
agricultural exports are
Dominicana. Hemos
growing in
podido
the Dominican
observar
Republic, as we can
en este
see.
último año,
In
estamos
this last
usando
year,
datos
we're using
esencialmente de
data
2025
of
porque son
2025
los
because
oficiales,
those were the
consolidados y
official and
analizados que
consolidated
tenemos.
and analyzed data
El
that we had.
índice más reciente
That's the
nos
most
demuestran
recent
que
baseline that we have.
hubo
And
un
that shows us
crecimiento
that there was an
interanual de las
interannual growth
exportaciones
of the exports
agropecuarias de un
of 25.5%, which is a very nice number. There are some different products like cocoa, banana, that lead the dynamism of the sector. And we're also looking that even though we have a complex context at an international level on the region, the Dominican Republic maintains a growth forecast of the GDP that is really interesting. We have closed in 3.5, almost 4%, and that growth perspective of the economic side are going to be, tells us that it's going to be continuous. So we can determine that the agricultural sector is not growing on their own. There's a whole economy that grows on the country where agricultural, of course, is gaining an interesting importance. And the other side of this is that it also demands new capacities. It demands different ecosystems with alliance, with producers, with all the private sector, institutions of the public sector. The role of IICA has been very interesting. We worked with FONTAGRO and other international institutions, but at the end, it starts to show us this great opportunity that we have to work with more data, with more science, with more innovation, and with better technology. And at the end, what is going to position these numbers is to be able to identify that the economical growth, it's also going to transform the talent that a country needs. And that's where I think that we have a first idea that is really interesting to share with you and the future conversation that we can have. The Dominican agriculture is not just a productive sector, it's being transformed, it's being converted into a space where knowledge contributes not just elements to increase productivity, but it is also going to generate a better competitiveness also for the whole sector. We have seen in many of the countries in which we carry out this type of investments where agriculture, of course, generates jobs, it gives you food security, and it transforms in a very important engine for the economical growth, of course, innovation and competitiveness as well. So a natural question that can arise from this is how can we sustain this growth? And there I would like to go to the next slide, which is one of the first examples that I want to show you, which is related to the management of a resource that we all know very well, that is water. Of course, in effect, for many years and for a lot of time, we thought that water was related to infrastructure, that it makes us think about channels, irrigation systems. But now we see that this challenge is incredibly wider, because to manage water not just makes us to have a better competitiveness within the country, but it also means that we need to generate and manage the information as well. That's why we need to measure, we need to analyze, and with that we can make better decisions, increase technology, sensors, applied technology or science as well. And some basic roles that we have here is the work in alliance that we have been speaking of, to work with producers, public institutions, the academy, and the private sector. But at the end, the water is not just a natural resource. It's transformed in a strategic ally that is an essential part from the management of that knowledge. And I believe that this, we need to stress this out, and very important data, because if we look at the context here in Dominican Republic, we know that 82% of the water of the country is gone to agriculture. That tells us a lot, right, about the strategic asset that we have, and that somehow we need to manage very well. The efficiency, the average efficiency of the water irrigation is in 40%, and 30%, I'm sorry, and 10% of the area under that irrigation is technified. I know that what we're looking here is that we have an endless amount of opportunities that open the door to incorporate technology but also to allow us to make different decisions with this information. We can manage the governance, we can manage the roles of those actors, and in effect, use the water that we all know is being transformed in a more scarce resource that requires better intelligence, better knowledge, so we can manage it in a more efficient and effective manner, so we can create more yield and productivity, but also resilience and weather or environmental resilience and better competitiveness for the development when we do it in the correct manner. And if this happens with water, what happens, for example, when we face issues of the agriculture that are more complex? And there I want to go to the next slide to tell you or show you another example that has been part of the whole portfolio that we manage here in IICA in the Dominican Republic. And it's about animal health. Somebody probably know that from 2021, they discovered the African swine illness. And their public and private sectors, we have worked in a matter to contain somehow, to minimize the risk that this African swine pest has significant for us. And that means to protect the competitiveness of agro, not just requires to produce more, but in this case, the factors that are related to health, animal health, are very important and in a very intertwined manner with science, innovation, and also in the collaborative work, because we need to promote or protect that we're creating. In effect, we have stressed this to build those blocks and protect that animal health. And this changes, of course, completely this conversation, because it adds a lot of value, because the animal health not just focuses on medicine or the veterinarian medicine, but also they need experts, knowledge, values that are related to biosecurity, epidemiological vigilance, with investigation, more science, more AI, better data management, international cooperation, and therefore it needs strong institutions, not just the institutions that are just collaborating here to carry out process and help, but also institutions that are embedded on different public and private sectors in their countries. And this, at the end, is going to show us that we need to work in these ecosystems, in these groups of actors that somehow, in an allied manner, can, for example, strengthen the existence of the national program of the African swine fever, where epidemiological surveillance and strong programs for the analysis and for a better decision-making should be key. So I refer to something that was mentioned in the water area, where the challenges, for example, of the agricultural sector are not linear. They are presented in a manner that we need to take different factors from a systemic manner. And at the same time, when we speak about the problems that are really complex, that are systemic, that those answers should also be the same. And the first conclusion that we can take out from this are the challenges of this nature, but at the same part is that no institution can do it on their own. No discipline can be doing it on their own. We're seeing that many of these challenges of the countries invites us to combine the knowledges of intergenerational knowledges and also the interdisciplinary knowledges as well. So innovation works in a very interesting manner when they are combined with a lot of capacities and when they include the knowledges that can come from different areas. If we go to the next slide, in effect, here is where I would like to think that interdisciplinary and that intergenerational allow us to think in how can we integrate all those talents to transform those agri-food knowledge in our countries. When I was building this presentation, I was thinking about the examples. These are two of many of those that we work here in the presentation, but it invites us to think about the people. It allows us to think about the knowledge that combines experience, it combines capacities, because innovation, the way that we see it in a more systemic manner and complex manner, do not replace generations rather than connect them, because we need also the knowledge and we need the experience for it to be built, and that has been built for decades. That institutional memory that we have, it's really important. We also need the producers, the extensionists, the entrepreneurs. We need the universities, the investigation or research centers, the enterprises, international cooperation, and a whole ecosystem that allows us to contribute with very interesting data, and so we can find solutions on the countries, solutions to those problems that in most of the cases in the agricultural sector are very complex. We require to solve and contribute and give solutions. So for me, it was really interesting to share with you this information about higher education in Dominican Republic, because we're starting from the opportunities. So we see that there are a little bit more than 520,000 students that continue technical studies that are diverse. And from them, more or less 2,154 are in agricultural programs. So I see a huge opportunity here to widen that attractive of this career connected to the agricultural systems. So I think it's an opportunity, and it's going to truly position us in the agricultural sector as a sector that offers careers with purpose, careers where there are huge dilemmas, huge opportunities that need, of course, of more science, more innovation, and more research and investigation and capacity, of course, of solving these type of problems or challenges that the countries have and that they present greater opportunities to be able to investigate, innovate, co-create, adopt, because many times we see it, and we've seen that the capacity of generating new technologies and generate new investigations are always present those interesting opportunities that the producers can adopt those type of solutions that are effective for the value chains that are involved or the contextual realities that they have. And when this works, the being able to scale it is incredible. Everybody wants to create better impact, to have better competitiveness, better growth, and that our countries grow in that competitiveness and that efficiency in the usage of the natural resources and the financial resources that we have. And why not each time more the resource of the human talent that we need to attend these challenges and opportunities that are presented in the countries. Finally, I would like to end up with a reflection that I started speaking about exports, value chains, competitiveness, and in effect, being able to contribute to the economy of the countries. We brought the health, animal health, and water examples and the people of this talent. We focus on the youth, and we can say that that possibility of generating experiences within the generations, it's a key aspect. We would think that these examples could be disconnected. I would like to see them with a more important connection, because the countries need to build these ecosystems to improve our innovation on the agri-food sector, thinking that the different generations can work together and transform that knowledge in a better impact. And that's how we're looking at in Dominican Republic, that our great contribution as IICA here is to support and to create a better competitive advantage of Dominican Republic, not just with natural resources, but also supporting processes in which we can connect talent, knowledge, and innovation. Because innovating is not just developing new technologies, we think that it's also in creating new possibilities for everybody and better connections for the improvement of our agri-food systems. Thank you very much.
Muchísimas gracias, Gabriela.
Thank you very much, Gabriela.
Por favor, que ahora se
So
pueden
I'm going to
presentar
ask
sus
you,
cámaras,
please, for
Gabriela,
everybody
Patricia y
to turn
Rebeca.
on their cameras and their mics.
Estamos. Muchas gracias.
Thank
Bueno,
you.
tenemos por suerte y no por
So,
suerte, gracias a
luckily,
la
we
disciplina que han
have,
mostrado ustedes y su
because
habilidad
of
en
the
usar el
discipline that
tiempo
you've
para
shown in
las
using your
presentaciones,
time for the
tenemos
presentations,
unos minutos
we have
para
some additional minutes
discutir
to discuss
sobre ellas
about them.
y por supuesto son libres ustedes
And of
de
course,
dialogar,
you're free
pero para romper
to
el
talk among
hielo
yourselves, but to
inicio
break the ice,
con
I'm
una
going to
pregunta que
start
podemos
with a question
circular entre
that we
ustedes y
can,
que
of
lo van
course, answer among
presentando.
yourselves in the way that you started presenting, if you want to.
En primer lugar,
So first of all,
coincido y
I agree,
es muy fuerte la
because I
idea
believe that
transversal que
the
hay en todas las
cross-cutting idea
presentaciones que
that is so
ustedes
strong
están
among all your presentations,
identificando al
that you
talento
guys are
humano
detecting the
como un
human talent
elemento clave
as
y
a key
especial
element,
de los jóvenes.
especially in the youth.
Y creo que eso es sumamente valioso
And I
porque
believe that's
muchas
very
veces
valuable
discutimos
because
sobre
we've
prioridades de
discussed
investigación, por
in
ejemplo,
priorities on
y se ha
investigation, for
presentado
example,
que
and
alguien las va a llevar adelante y lo
it
mismo
has
para políticas
shown
agropecuarias y
also
demás,
for
pero
the
muchas veces
agricultural
el
policies, people have
limitante es
done it, and
el
the
talento humano.
limit sometimes
Entonces,
or many times is the
mientras
human talent.
ustedes hablaban, yo me
So while you
preguntaba
were speaking, I was asking myself,
por dónde pasan las limitaciones más
where do the
fuertes
most
y yo lo
strong
pondría
limitants go through?
como si
And I
fueran dos
would
familias
put them or
y
place them in
ustedes en su
like in
trabajo
two families.
cotidiano
You in your daily work, for
encuentran
example,
que
find
las limitaciones son
that
desde
those
el lado de la
limitants
demanda
are
y
from
que
the
hay
demand side. That means
poco
that
interés
there
que hay
is
que
very few
despertar
interests that we need to
en estos
wake up
jóvenes
within the youth,
o
this interest,
desde el lado
or
de la oferta
from
de oportunidades,
the
en el sentido de
offers and
que
opportunities, in the sense
hay
of
mucha más
that
gente
there's
interesada en
more
contribuir
people
a los
interested
sistemas
in contributing
agroalimentarios
to
desde el lado de la
the
agricultura, pero que no
agri-food
encuentran
sector from youth, but
sus
they don't
espacios y
find
cómo
those spaces.
las organizaciones en las
And
que ustedes
how those
trabajan
organizations in which you
actúan en
guys
relación
work
con eso,
act
ya sea sin
in
problema viene
relationship
de la
to that.
oferta o
It
de
could
la
be
demanda.
both in offer and demand.
Empezamos con
So
Rebeca.
let's start with Rebecca, if you want to.
Yeah, thank you. I think I understood your question correctly. I think what I see is that the limitation for young people is the perception that agriculture is only farming or working in the field. So they're disengaged from that. They're not interested in pursuing careers in agriculture or thinking about careers in agriculture because they don't want to become farmers or they don't even know what farming entails. So what we're doing is creating opportunities for young people to learn about what all goes into agriculture, all of the different backgrounds and interests that can contribute to the agri-food sector. It's vast. And I'm always trying to share with students that you can really have any interest in any background and still contribute to this field in a meaningful way. So we try to expose them to real work in different areas of the agri-food system to show that agriculture goes beyond working in the field. It's extremely important part of the agricultural system, but if you have other skills and interests that can support farmers, there is a place for you in this work. And all backgrounds and interests help the agri-food system succeed and function sustainably.
Excelente. Sí, sí, sí. Ahora veo perfectamente. La
Great.
idea
Thank you
sería
very
como
much. I
mostrar que existe un
understood your
ecosistema
idea that
muy
there's a
diverso en
huge
el cual
ecosystem that is diverse
estas personas pueden
and that there
encontrar
are
su
many
rol.
people can find their role.
Excelente, muchas gracias.
So thank you very much for
Priscila,
that.
¿cuál es tu
Excellent.
reacción
So
sobre esto?
Priscilla, what's your view or your
Gracias,
take in
Martín.
this?
Bueno,
Thank
desde
you,
nuestra
Martin.
experiencia, lo que
From our
queremos es que
experience, what
estas
we can
juventudes
say is that
con quienes hemos trabajado
youth, the youth
sigan
with
interés
which we have
en
worked, they do
sumarse
have interest
a
in
las distintas actividades en
adding to the different
agricultura.
activities in
El,
agriculture.
el
The issue here that we've found are the conditions that they face in regards to access of opportunities of different programs in education, access of financing, to the exchange of networks, for example. So that's why in my message, I wanted to highlight that we need to understand which are those barriers and which are those constraints to give opportunity so that more youth can add from the area of the science, from the technology side, that they can contribute to innovation as well. Because I was listening sometime a podcast where youth mentioned that they have all the conditions and all the interests that they have studied their careers, but at the moment of going to the territory, they don't have the conditions, nor there are strategies to truly they can be able to remain in the territory. So if we don't have opportunities, what happens? That the youth that want to add themselves, but the only space and the only opportunity window are to contribute in the urban areas that, of course, are necessary, but we're leaving aside the rural areas in which they, of course, grow, and they are part of that. So I wouldn't be able to say that it's just one or the other, but the people that we have worked with tell us that, okay, we need better opportunities. We need to add in decisions, and we need to see in a joint manner which are those opportunities or those opportunities that we can find within the agricultural sector. Thank you very much, Priscilla. Very clear. And Gabriela, how do you see it from your perspective? Thank you, Martin, Rebecca, and Priscilla for these ideas. I do agree there are topics that are related to the appealing or the or how you think. To be young is a transitory stage in your life, so I still need to think that we can need to think it from that perspective. It's a stage where you generate a lot of knowledge between the appealing way of this. You need to make it a very nice place for the pairs, where they need that they have a very important role for them to play, that everybody kind of gives them knowledge and learnings, because the way that we think it here in the Dominican Republic, from the organizational side, not just with the rural youth with which we work and we want to continue working, but also from the perspective of the institutional richness. That's how we see that intergenerational aspect as truly very motivating, that I would like for us to be able to reflect a little bit more in that, because it integrates, it's kind of a bridge. We think on the constraints or limitations, but it's also worth thinking or asking the youth, how do you want to integrate? Where are the solutions that we can contribute to these big challenges that the agri-food sector is stating us? We also know that the youth stage, and when they are throughout the stage of life, it's one of a lot of exploration from their side, when they can trigger opportunities to grow in their knowledge, explore opportunities, because we all know that those great challenges, we need to exercise different scenarios. What are the possible scenarios to solve these huge challenges that we have on the agri-food sectors? So I think it's an invitation. As you mentioned, it's an articulation that we need to do between what you offer and what is demanded in a very strong conversation with that youth specifically. Thank you, Gabriela. And here there is a question within the chat that we can broaden a little bit more or elaborate a little bit better in this. From the point of view of people that work with youth within these rural environments and related to the agri-food aspects, what would be the mechanisms to contact you guys, either to learn or to do any type of collaboration? Which are the channels that you guys have from the, for example, the audience of this webinar that are motivated or that are directly doing similar things to the ones you guys are doing?
Bueno, tal vez pueda a tomar la palabra. Yo hago, bueno, ya habíamos presentado los correos institucionales,
So
¿verdad?
we had shown the institutional email addresses,
pero también
but
hago
we
una
also
invitación
make
a
an
seguir
invitation
de lleno las redes
to continue
sociales de
following the
IICA,
social media of IICA,
porque justamente en nuestras
because
redes sociales
within
pues
our
se
social media,
publican cuáles son las acciones que
we of
vamos
course publish
realizando,
all the
cuáles son
opportunities that we're doing, all
los mecanismos para
what are the
poder
mechanisms
trabajar
to be able to
conjuntamente.
work in a jointly
El
manner.
IICA pues es un organismo
Within
internacional que
IICA, we are an
trabaja
international
a través
organization
también de
that
alianzas,
works
¿verdad?
through
Nuestros jefes y
alliances.
jefas son los ministerios de
Our bosses
Agricultura de
are
las
the
Américas, los
agricultural ministries
24
of the
estados,
Americas from the 34
y esto lo que
states.
nos hace es
And
fortalecer
that
el
is
impacto
what does
cuando
is to
trabajamos con redes,
strengthen
porque
the
hemos
impact when we
tenido
work with
ya
networks.
la
We have
oportunidad de
already had the
trabajar
opportunity to
en
work
procesos anteriores con
in
el programa
former
que
processes
Rebeca
with
nos
the
estuvo
program that
presentando,
Rebecca
¿verdad?
was
Y
presenting
así
to us.
teníamos, bueno,
And
Gabriela se lo
that
menciona
way,
también
Gabriela
del
also
trabajo que
mentioned
ha tenido
the work that
con
she's had
FONTAGRO. Bueno,
with Fontagro.
tenemos muchas
So we
formas
have
de
many
trabajar,
ways
así
of
que mi
working.
invitación es
So
poder
my
revisar
invitation
las
is
redes
for you
sociales del instituto y
to
la página
get a
oficial que
look
es
or get a glance of our
iica.int.
social media and
Sí, sí, creo
all our
que la respuesta de Priscila sirve
ICA. So
para los tres casos, porque
Priscilla's
tanto las redes sociales como la misma
answer
información que han
works for
provisto
the
ustedes en
three
sus presentaciones es suficiente
speakers
para
or
iniciar un
panelists
contacto.
here, so they can start make an initial contact with you guys.
¿Cómo ven ustedes
How do you guys see
a Fontagro, que es
Fontagro?
un fondo
That it's a fund
cofinancia
that
proyectos
finances
de
different projects
investigación en el
of
sector
investigation projects within
agroalimentario
the
de Latinoamérica y el
agricultural
Caribe,
sector of the Caribbean and
como
Latin America,
un aliado
as an
para
ally
potenciar esta tarea
to
con los jóvenes.
potentialize
Ustedes han
this task with the
presentado
youth. You
foco en
guys have
distintos rasgos
presented
de
different
edades y
focuses
distintas
of
realidades,
age ranges, different realities,
pero contar con
but
varias decenas de
to have
proyectos en
several
ejecución en el
dozens of
terreno,
institutions
¿cómo
with
podría
on the
vincularse
field,
con la
how
tarea
can
que hacen ustedes?
they add to the job that you guys are doing?
También puede empezar quien quiera.
Whoever wants to start, you can start speaking.
Yo empiezo si gustan.
If you want to, I
Es
can
una
start.
muy buena pregunta,
It's a very good
Martín.
question,
Creo
Martin.
que introduciría como dos
I would
elementos.
present or introduce two
Uno
aspects.
primero tiene que
First
ver con los
is related
aspectos de muchas veces los
to the
llamados son
aspects
una
that
oportunidad grandísima a
some of the ones
explorar,
that are
como
called, it's a
decíamos,
very
sobre
huge
algunos de los
opportunity to
grandes dilemas
explore,
que
as we
tiene
were speaking about the big
el
dilemmas
sector
that the
agroalimentario, ¿verdad? O el
agri-food sector
agro, los
had,
países, en
or
fin,
the agricultural
focalizado
and
en
food
cadenas de
sectors
valor. A
have,
mí
that are
eso,
focused on the
esa
value chains.
oportunidad que ofrece el
That
Fontagro
opportunity
me
that
parece muy
Fontagro
buena, muy
presents
poderosa
is
y
very
más
good, is
cuando lo
very
podemos
powerful,
hacer
and
entre
better yet
distintos
when we can do
países.
it among
Ahora bien,
several countries.
debemos quizá
Now,
pensar
we
en
need to
cómo algunas
think
veces hacemos
on how
foco sobre
sometimes
ese
we
impacto y que
focus on
recaiga
that impact,
justamente sobre estos
and
temas
of
que estamos
course,
hablando, ¿verdad?
pulse
Como
on
un
the specific topics that we're
facilitador
talking.
o
As
bien
a
desde el
facilitator,
lado de la
either from
investigación
the
y la
investigation
ciencia y la
side and
tecnología,
science and
podamos
technology,
incorporar
we
a
can
mayores jóvenes
incorporate
con este
to
atractivo
a
que
lot of
planteaba
youth
Rebeca, que me
with
parece
this
muy,
attractive that
un
Rebecca was
efecto muy
presenting,
interesante
that I think it's
a
a very
revisar.
important
También se
effect
encuentren que
to
el agro es un
review,
sector
that the agricultural
complejo,
sector is a
diverso
very
y que
complex,
puede
diverse
todavía
sector,
alojar y
and
darle
that it can still
bienvenida a
host and
distintas
welcome
perspectivas
different
y a la
perspectives,
vez
and at the same
cuanto a los
time,
lugares donde
in related to
trabajamos,
the
pienso
places
que
where we work.
también
I believe
en los predios
that also,
concretos,
for example, in the
en los
specific
territorios
locations,
concretos, en
on
las
the
geografías
specific
concretas,
territories, on their
sería muy bueno
geographies,
pensar cuáles
it would
podrían
also
ser
be good to think
espacios como atractivos
what would be
para la
attractive
juventud. O sea que
spaces
veo el
for the
fondo
youth.
como un aliado
So I see the fund
extremadamente
as a
interesante, ese
very
es un
interesting
primer
ally,
elemento. Y lo
as a
segundo,
first element, and
fortalecer
second,
esta capacidad
strengthen this
exploratoria
exploratory
que en
capacity,
realidad nos
that
permita
it truly
entender que
allows
muchas
us to
veces la
understand
innovación
that
es
many
un
times
punto de entrada muy
innovation is
interesante,
an
que a
entry
veces para
point that is
problemas
very interesting,
complejos no
because
tenemos
very
una
sometimes
sola única respuesta que pueda
something
funcionar.
We don't have like a just unique answer, but it could be several combos of solutions that allow us to approach those issues in an efficient manner and with a greater impact. And just like it could be an incredible opportunity for us, of course.
Gabriela, no sé si Priscila o Rebeca.
I don't know if Priscilla or Rebecca want to say something.
Yo coincido completamente, Martín, con
I
lo que
totally
menciona
agree
Gabriela.
with what Gabriela is mentioning.
Creo que, bueno, el papel de Fontagro en
I believe that
cuanto al
Fontagro's
fomento
role in
de la
relationship to the
investigación
realm
es
of
clave,
investigation
¿verdad?
role,
En los
it's
aportes que
incredible
brinda la
in the
región. Entonces,
contributions
creo
that
que
it
un
gives to the
modelo
whole
de trabajo
region.
que
So I
permita
believe that our
también
work
hacer
line
un
that allows
acento en
to
las necesidades de las
create an
comunidades
accent
rurales
of the needs of the
es
rural youth,
clave y
it's
al
key
mismo
here. And at
tiempo
the same
otro
time,
elemento también que veo
another
como
element
una ventana de
that I see
oportunidad
as
es
a
que
window of
se
opportunity
generen
is that we
condiciones
can
y
give
oportunidades cuando se hacen
opportunities
estas
and
convocatorias
conditions
para que
in these
personas jóvenes científicos
callings
también
so that the
puedan participar,
scientific youth
¿verdad?
can
Mediante la
participate as
creación de
well in the
estrategias y
creation of
mediante la
different
creación,
strategies
pues,
or
de
the creation of
mecanismos que
mechanisms
permitan que más
that
juventudes
allow that
puedan
more youth
sumarse pues a
can
estas
add
soluciones de
themselves to these solutions
investigación, a estas
of
convocatorias que se
investigation
realizan, ¿verdad?
and
Siempre
different events that
poder
are being carried out.
sumar
So they
desde
can
la
also add
investigación
from the
versus el trabajo
investigation
que se realiza
versus the work that
en
is
temas
being
de
done
acciones de
in
cooperación
terms of
técnica y
actions and
cooperación
technical
ayudan
cooperation. I
a
think
poder
that helps us
ampliar el
to
marco de
broaden the
aportes que podamos
framework
dar
of
en la
contributions that
región.
we can give
Entonces,
throughout the
para
region.
mí,
So for me,
en épocas pasadas, como
in
estudiante,
former
se Fontagro, uno de los elementos que siempre
years
veo
as a student, one of the elements
presentidos
that
es
I
que
saw
desde la
as
academia,
crucial is that from
desde
the
este sector
academy
se
and
pueda
from this
aportar,
sector, we can, of
¿verdad?
course,
Desde el ámbito
contribute
profesional se
from
pueda
the
aportar
professional
a las
position,
necesidades que
we can
tienen
contribute to the
nuestros
needs
estados. Entonces creo que
that
eso
our
sería una
states
gran ventana
have.
de
So I think
oportunidad de
it's a
trabajo
huge
conjunto.
window of opportunity to work jointly.
Muchas gracias, Rebeca. No sé si tienes
Thank
algún
you very
comentario.
much. Rebecca, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I do. I agree. And I think that sharing access and exposure to some of this technical work and these projects so that young people can learn, exchange knowledge, exchange ideas, and see themselves in the space, I think would be an interesting way of collaborating. And, students need to have a sense of belonging before they can work on skill building for workforce development. Gabriella was talking a little bit about that intergenerational exchange. I think that's also really important. We need to help young people see that they have a place in the future because belonging makes career readiness possible. And so I agreed with what Gabriella was saying about asking them, what do they see? What do they want? How can they collaborate intergenerationally to create new opportunities in the agri-food systems for themselves. I think all of that is important, and having that in-person experience, exposure to technical work, exposure to seeing what is actually happening on the ground is very useful for a lot of youth, especially urban. Priscilla's talking a lot about rural students. It's a different issue around access as well, but all of this leading to seeing yourself in the space, I think, is really important. And that's where a lot of collaboration can be possible.
Muchas gracias. Sí, más allá
Yes,
de cualquier cooperación.
thank you very much. And I believe that's important.
institucional
And
que
rather,
pueda
any
generar,
collaboration from the institutions that you can
intercambio.
promote from this
Por
exchange.
supuesto, las
Of
invito
course, I invite
a
you
visitar nuestro sitio web,
to visit us
donde
at
pueden ver
our
descripción
website, where you
un
can see the
50
description
proyectos que
of
están
at
activos
least
hoy.
50 projects that
Y
are
todos los
active
proyectos
today,
Fontagro
and all
tienen
the
una
Fontagro projects
componente
that have a
entre 3
component
y 4
that have
componentes
between
en
3 and
total.
4
Y una de
components in
estos
total, and one of those
componentes es la
components
gestión
is
de conocimiento y
the
comunicación.
knowledge and communication
Entonces, cada proyecto
management.
está
So each project
motivado y
is
obligado
motivated and
a tener
obliged
actividades
to
de
have
campo,
activities
de
of field
formación, de
activities,
webinars,
information, webinars,
entrenamientos.
trainings.
Y creo que ese puede ser un lugar
So
para
that could be
visitar
a
ver
place
distintas temáticas y distintas
to work and
regiones
see
que
different
se está trabajando,
topics and
cómo
different regions where we're working at, and how
ubicarse
can we
esta
locate
demanda
this demand of being able to satisfy the inquiries and the younger talents. And I believe that each one of you or the audience can be done because, of course, you have visible those activities and they have visible all the context of the people that are that lay these programs. So without a lot of roadblocks, they can, of course, put in contact with any one of you guys. So I believe we're reaching the end of the webinar. And here they send me a message that Dr. Zaini is right now traveling, and she congratulates us for the webinar, for this meeting. So I'll give like a final minute to each one of you to give us a last message because of the conversation or anything that you want to reinforce about your presentations, and then we close. So Rebecca, please go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, I think what I'm taking away from this is we do need to create stronger networks for collaboration. So many of us are working towards the same thing, empowering youth and including them in the future of agri-food systems, and working together will really scale the impact that's needed for the future of the systems. And that's especially true in my experience in Latin America and the Caribbean, where networks can still seem a little bit fragmented, but the dedication and the desire to collaborate is still strong in there. So leaning into that and working together to strengthen the future for youth.
Muchísimas gracias. Tomamos el desafío. Priscila.
Thank you very much. We'll take that challenge. Priscila? From my side, I want to thank you for this space of exchange. It was very enriching to thank Eugenia, Martin, and all the FONTAGRO team for bringing us together and being able to exchange information in this panel with my colleagues, Rebecca and Gabriela. Well, my takeaway or my highlights is the experience that precisely when we work with the youth, we can be able to listen to their voices, first of all, make them visible, their contributions, and third, generate the conditions for them to be able to participate and they can incite in the decisions of the agricultural sector. Here, one of the big demands is to make this combination among the knowledge that we already have, the experiences that we have, and the new ideas. That's why working jointly in this dialogue, as we mentioned with Gabriela and Rebecca, in this intergenerational dialogue from the science where innovation and promote this leadership of youth, it's crucial for the future of everybody and for the food security in our countries. So thank you very much for this space. And I'm really motivated to continue working jointly in the future. Thank you, Priscila. Gabriela. Thank you. I agree. It was a very enriching dialogue. And my takeaways are several, but two main. The first one is to reinforce the lenses and how we see the reality many times, because we're on the field in a continuous manner. So I mean to reinforce the lens, because the visual capacity of those youth, where they see themselves, where they see opportunities, and not lose track of them. For me, it's like that, to remind them that we need to use the binoculars and the magnifying glasses so we can look at them very clear to see where those opportunities are. And the second one, again, the dialogue for me has been as a new invitation. For example, the work that we do in IICA in our country, specifically in Dominican Republic, when we are working in different topics, it kind of lighten us the water stress or the animal health, but it could be others. And also to procure that we have specific actions where somehow or some way we can try to make an impact to the youth that are coming together with those challenges of looking to those agricultural aspects. And that's an invitation that I take with me to strengthen those aspects. And we need to look at it in two ways. We're always betting on youth with which we work with, that are on the field. And I would truly like to think a little bit more in the trajectory of our own organizations, so that that intergenerational aspect is an asset, is an added value that we can contribute with, because the youth, as a mirror, they feel appealed or called when they see that there's a connection, when they see that there's a capacity of working in a network, because somebody said that would be one of the best assets to generate better innovation in the next decade. So thank you very much. Thank you, Gabriela. And we also have a closing words from Gabriela. She's looking at us from YouTube. And the development is to see that agriculture as an economical sector has a lot to offer to the youth. But we need to make an effort from the institutions to facilitate the path for them. It could be both the scientists or extensionists, producers or industrials. So it's aligned, totally aligned, but it's cross-cutting to everything that we've seen throughout this meeting. So Rebecca, Priscilla, Gabriela, again, thank you very much from FONTAGRO. Thank you for this time. Thank you for your excellent presentations. And of course, to the audience that has been listening and looking at you in real time, to continue adding with the magic that the digital world has, and that is useful for a lot of people that are interested in these topics. It could be youth or the ones that are looking what's going to be their next path, people from the academy that studied these topics, or colleagues of ours that have different organizations or specific or similar actions. Hopefully, they can find in what you presented elements to learn, to extend, or to promote different stuff. So thank you very much. And we'll go to a closing video. Thank you. So could you please turn off your mics and cameras? Thank you.